Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Light Sports Ramble. I am joined today with my co-host, Evan Watalison. I am Troy Otradovic. And Evan, we're going to ramble today, and the mood in Green Bay has to be a great one. Finally, after 5 games, the Packers' winless streak is over without a man named Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback. So before I get started and turn it over, though, I actually am going to pat myself on the back for the first time because for one time, I was right. You were wrong. You picked the Packers to lose without Rodgers. I said no matter what, they're winning. So going to applaud myself on that one, and I'm sure Packer fans are happy.
You deserve that.
And I'm sure you're happy you were wrong, too, because it puts us in a really...
Yeah, I'm very happy I was wrong, which I don't say very often.
Well, that's good. Exactly. You're not wrong that often. So that is a good thing. We're all happy now. I mean, we've got our help, too. The Eagles in that wonderful snowy conditions in Philadelphia yesterday, the Eagles helped us out a lot.
Yeah, you're getting it yesterday, too.
We didn't get as much, to be honest. I got no more than just a coating on my sidewalk and a quick little shovel. That was it. But, you know, to fill everybody in, the Packers are now only a half game out of first place, no matter what happens tonight. If the Bears win, they go to 7-6. It'd be nice if they lost to put them at 6-7.
It'd be very nice.
But in either case, you know, you and I talked about this. If the Bears win their next 3, we win our next 2, we go into Week 17, and if we win that game, we'll be ahead of them. So we just need the Lions to lose one of their next 3, and if we win all 3, oh my God, we just won the division when 3 weeks ago a bunch of fans are saying this isn't possible. And, you know, we were wavering a little bit too, depending on the health of Rodgers, but we can only hope that he'll be back for the Cowboys, and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit today, if not during the week for sure. But as always on Packer Recap, which is on Monday, I'm going to do like we always do, Evan. I'm going to turn it over to you, let you go through the game, kind of the big plays and how the scoring happened and how the end result came about, and then we'll discuss the things that you and I saw that we need to improve on so we can take on the Cowboys. So take it over, bud.
Well, before I get started on the recap, I will say that word out of Green Bay today is, as of right now, the Packers are preparing Matt Flynn to be the starter against the Cowboys. But Aaron Rodgers does have some tests being done either tomorrow or Wednesday to determine if he is going to get medically cleared to go. So we'll see what those tests do, you know, what they find out in those tests. Hopefully it's good news for the Packers and number 12 can play. So with that said, the game yesterday, I think the best way to describe the game yesterday is Jekyll and Hyde. The first half of the game, you know, Packers just didn't seem to have a whole lot of fire. You know, they were battling, but they just didn't seem to have, you know, it was like something was missing there. And you know, Falcons had scored first. Packers tied it up with the Lacey touchdown. And after a Matt Flynn fumble, which was recovered by the Falcons scored on a pass play to Gonzalez, which Morgan Burnett did on play action fake big time, which I'll get into a little later. I'm kind of not happy with him at the moment. And then Packers just get a field goal in there, and you know, you're thinking before halftime the Packers can get at least a field goal to, you know, make it a one-score game, go into the locker room down. They would have been 14-13 if they would have been able to get a field goal before halftime. But then Matt Flynn throws an interception, which a very fluke. It was kicked off of a linebacker's foot into the hands of another linebacker, and he had returned it for a touchdown. So it looked like going to be down by a point at the worst going into halftime, getting the ball first. The interception return for touchdown looked like it had completely derailed Green Bay. And then you have Eddie Lacy roll an ankle. For whatever reason, the Packers were running the ball with 4 seconds to go in the half. Eddie Lacy rolls an ankle, and it's looking very dim at halftime as the Bluebirds started. The second half rolled around, and it seemed like they had some fire to them. The defense was flying around the field, making plays. They were tackling well, making Matt Ryan uncomfortable because they were winning down in distance early on in the possession. And after a couple field goals to make it 21-16. Flint had a touchdown pass to Andrew Corliss, which the two-point conversion attempt was failed. And just like that, the Packers have the lead. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, the defense needs to make a play, but can they? That was coming in the back of my mind. Can the defense make a play to shut down Atlanta? And after the kicker for Atlanta misses a field goal just short, the Packers end up making a big stop with first one was the Tony Gonzalez drop on fourth down, and then the Falcons had the ball again. And Jared Bush, the unsung hero yesterday, makes a huge play and intercepts the ball to put the icing on the cake, or the dagger, as Larrabee would say. And then Gonzalez's drop on a 4th and 1, and they were driving the score. Jared Bush was in on the coverage there, too. So it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde game. The Packers put the shutout on in the second half, not allowing any Atlanta scores. And second half, they came out with some fire, came out with some energy, and they got the crowd behind them. So, like I said, best way to describe the game, be Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, and we're going to go back to one thing we talked about last week in the Packer preview. We talked about the defense having to step up. One is not necessarily to make the big plays, but to get the three and outs, to allow our offense to switch the field position, which we did in the second half. And to be honest, Evan, in the first half, I thought our offense put our defense into a bad situation. The offensive line, and this is my concern, we were talking about the offensive line in a makeshift formation with Sherrod and possibly Newhouse, and I'm going to put that aside, but just make a mental note of that. But defensively, I thought in the second half, they had a couple 3-and-outs, and that's exactly what turned the tide in that second half. If you look again, and I had mentioned my key to the game was time of possession. Packers possessed 33-plus minutes, Falcons only 26. The reason is when they had the 3-and-outs, the offense got the ball back, and again, didn't necessarily put the dagger in, just a couple field goals, but they changed field position, ran some time off the clock, and allowed our defense a chance to rest. That's what I really thought was key. That defense was fresh in the second half. I think that's why they were able to make the big stop at the end. Now, granted, we got lucky. Falcons dropped 5 balls yesterday. However, you still got to give them credit because they made the stops early in the half when that game could have gotten out of control real quick with that fluke interception at the end of the first half. I don't know what happened. I mean, there's no way that guy, Weatherspoon, should be able to rumble and tumble and huff and puff 71 yards to the end zone. But I'm really going to give the defense
pretty much untouched until the 5-yard line.
Yeah, Sitton had a chance, or TJ Lang had a chance and made a diving attempt. That's the reason why TJ Lang is an offensive lineman.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's why he's an offensive lineman, not a defensive lineman. But at least he followed the play. Probably only one of the people on offense that did. I think everybody stopped. Personally, I thought it was interception too, or incomplete, bouncing off the ground. But again, when you don't hear a whistle, and like you said in the pre-chat, when you see the referee running with the guy, that's a sure sign that this play is live. Somebody's got to catch up and at least force him out of bounds. I mean, that guy, it looked like he was going to have a hard time getting back to the locker room. He was breathing so heavy. But in either case...
Yeah, the referee did what I always preach at, and it ended up biting us in the butt, is that if it's a close play like that and you're not quite sure if it was a turnover or not, if it hit the ground or not, let the play run its course, and then it's going to be automatically reviewed anyways. And I've been preaching that all year, and this time it ended up biting us in the butt. Yeah,
I mean, they should have found a way to make that tackle. The good thing is, though, when you look at it, offensively, I think the game plan was good enough. We didn't really go deep that much, and one time we did, it worked to Jordy. Got that big 46-yard catch. That was nice to see. But when I look at offensively, the one problem that I have with this game, and you can give me your thoughts on this, we had the guys on the offensive line that we were talking about that we needed there. We had Dietrich Smith at center, had Lang back in his natural position, Barclay was in, Bakatari was in, Sitton was in, and we still gave up 5 sacks. Now, I'm trying to, and I haven't had a chance to watch, to go back and watch the game. I always DVR it. I'm not sure if Flynn held on to the ball too long and they gave him enough time, but they were getting some pressure. They had 5 sacks, so that's the line that we're going to put together. What's your feeling on the offensive line play? Because your key to the game was winning the trenches, and I'm not so sure that we won the trenches. It might have been a push because we only got 1 sack against the Falcons, pressured Ryan a little bit. They didn't run extremely well against us, but I think the trench play was kind of a push. I don't think we overly dominated their defensive line. What are your thoughts on the line play?
Well, I'll start with the question regarding the offensive line. From what I have seen, what I have saw, there were, he got sacked 5 times, but I would say 2, maybe 3 of them. If Matt Flynn doesn't look at one receiver only, I think he's able to get the ball out. That's one thing the Packers are missing right now without Rodgers in there is Flynn targets in on one guy, and if that read's not there, he panics. And there's at least for sure 2, maybe 3 of the sacks. That's what happened. Is he didn't have Jordy, and he had like Boykin wide open, but he didn't see Boykin. And when you miss that first read, or you can't get to your first read, and you don't look for a second read, sacks are going to happen. And it's unfortunate. There's a couple plays that, I give it to the offensive line. They just plain got beat, which it is concerning because 5 sacks given up to the Falcons is kind of troubling because they're not a big pass rush team. So that I put a little bit on Flynn. I don't think Rodgers gets sacked in those situations. I think he's able to escape much quicker than Flynn, which, Flynn had a couple nice runs in the game. He was able to escape pressure and got a couple nice runs, but he just wasn't able to make his second or third reads or wasn't willing to, and he ended up getting sacked. Regards to the D-line, I think especially in the second half, the D-line controlled the line of scrimmage just enough. Johnny Jolly had an incredible game overall, but he especially stepped up in the second half. And Steven Jackson and Jaquez, Rogers, whatever. They didn't have much running room at all in the second half. First half, they were able to get some yardage here and there, but the key was the Packers line won first and second down, which put the Falcons in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, which forces Ryan then to have to take a 5 or 7 step drop, which is one thing I said was key. And they were able to make him a little bit uncomfortable. And a couple of times, they just dropped the ball. But at other times, they were able to make him just enough uncomfortable that he couldn't get a good throw in there. He put it in bad spots. So I wouldn't say it was a push for our D-line. I would say the D-line got the win with the fact that they weren't able to run really anywhere, and they were able to force third and long situations. But the offensive line, that concerned me a little bit, especially with the sacks. And then it's hard to say what exactly, Lacey could have done in the second half because, as we all know, he was slowed up in the second half with that ankle injury. But I think in the second half, especially, I would say the offensive line was a push, if not the Falcons winning.
Yeah. When I look at it, it's concerning to me because, that's our starting group. We didn't have the backups in. We didn't have Lang in at center. We had that offensive line together, and if we're going to make a run to win the next 3 games, those are the guys we're going to go with. So part of me is saying, well, they've been injured so much, and we know that Barclay was out during the week. We know Dietrich Smith was also out during the week, so they didn't practice a lot during the week. Maybe they just needed a little bit of time to get comfortable because they did play a little bit better in the second half. But it's still concerning, and like you said, I can't put my finger on it. When I looked at it, there are some times when I'm just telling Matt Flynn, well, get rid of it. Get rid of it. I don't know if it was because he didn't feel comfortable taking a chance because it was ingrained in his head, don't turn the ball over, which it very well could have been. Because to be honest, that interception, it's going to go on Flynn. Yeah, it was a pretty crappy throw, but it was also kind of a fluke play that it bounced off a guy's foot, went right up into the hands.
how often does that actually even happen?
Yeah, not very often, but still, when I look at it, that dump-off pass was not very good at all. Granted, he had some pressure on him. But moving forward, Evan, when we look at the game as a whole, like you said, two different halves. And so you and I had been talking for the last couple of weeks about in-game adjustments. I can honestly say this is the first game where I think we made some adjustments defensively. What do you think they changed defensively? Because in that first half, we only would have given up 7 points had it not been for the turnovers. But we were giving up some yards. They were moving. They were getting some first downs. They were finding some pockets in the zone to complete some passes. Not a whole lot of pressure. But the second half was totally different. Like I said, when they came out and we stopped them immediately, the momentum changed. And it looks like Capers dialed up some pressure in the second half. But what do you think? Why do you think the changes were made? And, what changes do you think were made in game at halftime? Because whatever it was, it seemed to work defensively.
Well, first off, careful complimenting Capers. You might lose some fans. I complimented him yesterday late in the game that, defense deserves a lot of credit for the adjustments, especially Capers. And I had probably about 5 or 6 people just unfollow me after I tweeted that. So careful what you say about Capers in a positive way.
But I'll stop you there. Isn't it amazing how we think on the same page all the time? Because I didn't even know yesterday you talked about adjustments, and I just brought it up. So talk about that, and as soon as you're done with your point, we do have a caller, and I'll let them in. But go ahead and mention the changes, because I thought we made defensive adjustments at halftime, and I thought we played a lot better.
Yeah. Well, the one big thing they did, and this was early on, and this is when the defense did start playing a little bit better, is they took MD Jennings out and replaced him with Sean Richardson. Jennings didn't play the rest of the game. It was after that first Atlanta touchdown where he blew a tackle, but Burnett missed the coverage, and Jennings had a chance to get him to the ground, and he missed it. They put Sean Richardson in. Richardson's a little bit more aggressive than MD Jennings, so that helped. And then in the second half, they took out Devon House and put Jared Bush in. And I kind of have a Jekyll and Hyde relationship on how I feel about Jared Bush. Sometimes I love him. Other times I can't stand him. I think a lot of Packer fans have that same opinion.
I do.
But Jared Bush came in and played extremely well, especially against Tony Gonzalez. I don't know, when I first saw that was the matchup they were going with, I'm biting my fingernails because you have a, for sure, NFL Hall of Fame tight end, probably the best tight end the NFL has ever seen, and you're putting Jared Bush on him. So that was one thing there. And one thing I noticed, too, is especially in those third and long situations, they were playing a little bit more press coverage against the wide receivers of Atlanta, something they have not done all year. So I don't know if it's because they were able to get Atlanta in third and long situations that they felt comfortable trying to bump him off his route. But because they're in the third and long situations, Capers was able to dial up different kind of pressures against Atlanta. Because when you're in 3rd and 3, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, most of the time they're going to do a quick 3-step drop and get the ball out, and they don't need very much for the first down. So by winning first and second down, by putting Bush on the field against Gonzalez, and by putting Sean Richardson in the game, and playing the press coverage, especially in the third and long situations, those is what really helped the defense there. And those are, I think, the adjustments that they had made. That's at least what I had seen.
Yeah, and I'm right on there with you. I noticed we dialed up the pressure. So with that said, Bud, we actually have a caller in, so we'll pull the caller in. Welcome to the Red Light Sports Ramble. Who are we talking with today?
Oh, shut the fuck up, fuckers.
Oh, really?
Fuck the Falcons. Fuck the Packers.
Can you put it back on mute?
Yeah. Got to hang up on that one. And there went our G rating.
I'm sorry, that's completely uncalled for. They're still listening. If you're critical about what we're talking about and you're not a Packer fan, keep it appropriate. You don't have to drop the F-bombs. We're trying to keep the show, language clean. We're trying to, have people enjoy listening to us talk sports. It's not necessary to throw in the language. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and honestly, We don't expect everybody to agree with us. We don't expect everybody to be a Packer fan. But I agree with you there, Bud. We don't use that language, nor do we need callers coming in to drop that kind of language on our show. It is very inappropriate. Some people are not going to agree with us. Sometimes I don't agree with you. Sometimes you don't agree with me. But with that,
Keep it appropriate.
Yeah, with that said, we'll move forward. People have their opinion, and so goes it, right? But with that said, Bud, with the way the defense came around second half, with that pressure, I think you bring up a good point. We won first and second down. When I look at it, though, I'm looking at that defensive line maybe getting a little bit more healthy. Johnny Jolly back. Johnny Jolly looked really good yesterday. He just, I hope he never has to dance again, though. I don't know what kind of dance that was, but if he recovers,
I don't mind seeing the dancing. I mean, he did something outstanding.
Yeah, as long as he's going to recover fumbles, that's fine. He can definitely dance that way. But I think he's healthy again. Mike Neal came in. I thought Mike Neal had the motor going yesterday. Looks like Clay Matthews again. I know it's only a thumb, but you and I both know when you only have one hand to play that position, it's kind of tough. And so, with that feeling, him getting more comfortable, he's able to shed the blocks, get some space. I know we didn't call his name yesterday a lot, but he's always going to take up people. And so, when that happens, it's going to open up somebody else. And I thought that defensive line, even in the first half, they had the motor going, and they made the adjustments, and it was nice to see that we had some pressure on the quarterback. So we're going to try this one more time, Evan, as we've got another caller coming in. I'm going to keep my finger real close to the mute button.
Before you put them in, keep it appropriate. We don't want the four-letter words. If you're critical of us, fine, but keep it appropriate.
Good afternoon. This is the Red Light Sports Ramble. Who are we talking with today?
Hey, guys. This is Tim. I'm a Raiders fan, but I'm formerly from the Green Bay area. How you guys doing?
Good, Tim. How you doing?
Good, Tim.
What do you got for us?
Just want to say fuck you and suck my dick, pussies.
Gee whiz. I'll tell you what, Evan. We're really getting some good people on our show today.
Yeah, apparently.
So, hey.
The thing that's disappointing about that is we want fan interaction, but with callers that are calling in just to curse, it's very hard to actually accept callers because we don't want you on the air cursing.
No, and plus the other thing is too, we do it on Blog Talk Radio, we do it live, but we also do put it on YouTube. So, maybe we just won't accept callers then. It's one of those things. You and I have a good time. I know we've got a lot of followers. We've got a good following. And, it is just disappointing that people got to come in and do that. So, I don't understand it, Bud. But
I don't either.
So goes it. If you feel the need to have to do that, I have no idea. But
I'm calling. So you're going to say that. What's the point?
I have no idea. I really don't. Maybe they're having a bad day.
Maybe.
I have no idea.
Go to the gym and take your frustration out at the gym. Don't take it out on the show. Take it out at the gym.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Run a few laps on a on a track. Run on the treadmill. Pump some iron. That's how I deal with my frustrating days. And I work with one of the toughest youth populations to work with, and they get under my skin. But I don't, take it out on that method. Yeah,
and you've given me a few stories of your daily situations, and it's amazing. You and I, as we go through this, I mean, like you said, you and I keep it as a G-rated show. We are frustrated too. I mean, to everybody their own as to how you want to use your language, but if you need to call us up and use that language, I'm not sure what the purpose is. But in either case, let's just move forward, because the more we talk about it, the more they win. So with that said, Bo, we got about 5 minutes, and the rest of the week, I guess for the callers, we've got a pretty good week. I know, Evan. I know that that I've graduated from UW Whitewater, Division III football, who's made the national semifinals in D3, undefeated season. Trying to set up a time for us to get the editor of the school newspaper on the air this week to talk a little bit about Warhawk football. It's pretty good. They've had a very successful program at UW Whitewater, so it'll be nice to get some insight to UW Whitewater football. I know that you are trying to work out a situation to get Jerry Kramer's daughter on the show. So we have a lot of good things coming up here in this week and next week. So I'm excited about the things that we're doing there. But as we move forward, those that are listening, keep your topics coming on Twitter, on Facebook. We try to keep up with it. The following has been great. And so, we will try to get to topics, as Tuesday and Wednesday. Those are kind of fan days where we're going to take your topic, talk about those things in the NFL that you want to. Otherwise, Evan and I have a whole pile of things that we can talk about on Tuesday and Wednesday. But, your last thoughts on the game yesterday, Bud, I'm pretty excited. I really right now think that the Packers are in a great position. Whether or not, Rodgers comes back against the Cowboys, I think this was a great confidence game. I think it gives us a lot of momentum going into the last 3 games, and I think we've got a chance, to actually pull this out if we can get some help, with the Lions losing one more game. What are your last thoughts on the game?
Well, very nice confidence builder. Nice seeing the defense step it up in the second half. I was talking pre-talk. Morgan Burnett did disappoint me quite a bit, especially with his play in the first half. But overall, they did it well, and it was nice to see. And hopefully we can go down to Dallas and get a W. And I know your daily Cowboy football fix, the following that side, would probably be interested in hearing our show on Thursday when we break down and preview the game. So, but hopefully we can keep the momentum rolling. Hopefully Rodgers is available, and hopefully they can go into Big D and get a win, just like they got a win in Big D a couple years ago. And remember what that one got us. So not quite the stakes in that game, but we got to keep winning to make the playoffs.
Yeah, we definitely do, and it's going to be a good one. We've got to give thanks to Cass and your daily Cowboys football fix.com for letting us contribute to the site. But it should be a good Thursday when we do the preview. I'm sure Cass will put it on there. I'm sure we'll get a lot of hits on it. Right now I have some thoughts on how that game's going to go, and that could change in the next couple of days as we watch the injury report. If we watch the update on Rodgers,
and see what the Cowboys do today.
Yeah, and it's a big game tonight. So we do have just under 2 minutes, Bud. We're doing really good keeping in this 30 minutes on our when we have actual time to stay within. So just quickly, not without getting into a recap. We went over it last week. You and I both think the Cowboys are going to win tonight. And when I look at it, that would really help help the Packers, put the Bears at 6-7. Half a game behind us.
90 seconds.
But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good game tonight. And other than that, I just want to thank all the fans again for listening, and continue to call in. But if you're going to call in, at least if you're going to disagree with us, keep it clean. But you can wrap it up, Bud. We got just over a minute to go.
Well, thank you for listeners, and thank you for the callers that we've had in the past, and the one that caught us today. If you're going to talk like that,
60 seconds.
And last thing I want to mention is, besides working with the youth and stuff with the radio station and this stuff, I also work with Team Beachbody. They give Likes of Insanity and P90X and all those. And just so you know, those looking to get into shape for the holidays, P90X3 is coming out tomorrow. And if you are interested in learning more, you can tweet at me, Facebook message me, email the Ramble, and Red Light Sports Ramble at gmail.com, and I'll gladly answer any questions you have. So if you're looking to get in shape for the holidays, get in touch with me, and I can let you know. So that's all I got to say.
Sounds good, bud. I don't know. I'm at that point now. I don't know if getting in shape's even going to matter for me at this point. walking my dog in the morning is about enough exercise for me. But with that said, everyone, have a great night. We'll see you at the next red light. We'll get at you later.